Are you looking to sell your home and you're trying to increase the value of it? Do you know what the number one thing is that you can do in order to increase the value of your home? I've talked about it forever. It is paint. Paint, 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 paint. This is the cheapest, most cost-effective update that you can do that is going to get you a huge return on investment when you go to sell your home. Today's video, I'm going to talk about the power of paint. I'm going to give you real-life examples. I'm going to show you which colors you should paint and which colors you should not paint, because you do not want to make the mistake of painting your colors that the buyers just don't love. So I promise by the end of this video, you are going to be an expert on the colors that you should be painting your house and the colors you shouldn't. So true to form, I'm going to show you some real life examples of real listing photos that are out there. And I want you to give me your opinions. What do you think? Maybe I'm wrong. I get so many people who comment on my videos about my choices in colors. And you have to remember that I am talking to people who are selling their house and getting the highest return. Are these the colors that I would necessarily put in my house if I was hiring a decorator? Not necessarily. So stop with the hate, okay? We are talking about if you are a seller. And all you buyers out there who are telling me what you like and what you don't like, that's fine too. But I will tell you, this channel is for sellers and we're getting the highest return for sellers. So I want to make sure that if you are a buyer, I love your opinion, but that's not necessarily going to sell the house fast and for the most amount of money. So which picture do you like better? Is it this one or is it this one? Now we're talking from a buyer perspective. And the reason I'm going to show you these two is they are almost literally the same kitchen. They both are white kitchens. They both are a little bit updated, except one has the yellow and one has the whitish color. You may like the yellow color better, but for resale purposes, for showings online, which your photos are your first showing, the white neutral one is going to be better. Now, is this the color that you may want to have your house? Maybe not, but I want you to understand that when buyers are looking at these pictures, they are thinking that this is their first showing. And so they might just pass by it if the color doesn't work for them. And the reason why is because they know that they are going to have to repaint the house if it doesn't match their current furniture. So that is one of the most important things about picking the right color. Is it going to be neutral enough to match a buyer's furniture when they move in? I also want to talk to you about the differences between a stager and a decorator, or an agent and a decorator. As an agent, I understand what sells. I understand what buyers are looking for in their pictures. I am not a decorator. I will tell you I'm not a decorator. I probably need a decorator, but I know what shows well in photos. Decorators are really designing a home for the way that you live. So if your home has been professionally decorated, that's great. That's awesome. And I'm sure you love it. However, it may not appeal necessarily to a buyer. That's why I find it better to have a stager in, or more importantly, an agent come in to kind of guide you through what looks great in photos. So the first question you're going to ask me is, why do we need to paint? So many people, especially typically the men, say to me, well, why do we need to paint? We don't want to waste our money on a buyer who's just going to come in and repaint the house. And I completely agree with that. And that's totally true. You do not know what color a buyer wants in their house. But the way the buyers are nowadays is it's more neutral on the walls. It's not a color. If they want a color, they're going to do an accent color. So the key is to make sure that you are appealing to the mass audience, and the mass audience resonates well with a neutral color. So if your home is not a neutral color, if it's reds or yellows or blues or something like that, you really do need to paint it in more of a neutral color so those younger buyers see it as neutral and think, gosh, you know what? My furniture can fit in there. I don't have to paint. Because if the first project out of the gate for them is to paint the house, that is costly and they don't necessarily want to do it, which means that they are going to be taking that into consideration when they make an offer on your home. I've said this before, buyers want a good base. They don't want to do a lot of work to the house to get it to the point where then they can decorate. So if painting is a base, it's a neutral, it gives them the opportunity to put their money towards other things, such as furniture, or maybe even hiring their own decorator. In addition, it just shows better online. Your first showing is online. You got to make sure those young buyers are not swiping through the listing as they're viewing your home. And if it is a color, they may think the house is dated, even if it isn't. If you look back in those first two pictures I showed you, the one with the yellow and those big valances does look more dated than the one with the whitish walls. So now I'm going to show you you actual rooms that are good and what I think are maybe not so good. I always show real life examples in a lot of my videos. These are taken right from the listings. But before I do that, I want to make sure I don't forget to tell you to download my seller's playbook. That link is below. This is going to give you all of those updates that you should be making early on in the ownership of your home. I'm talking if you are there years ahead of time before you sell, download this playbook because it's going to share with you what really you're going to get your highest return on investment. And those are the low cost things like paint for sure. I do have my paint colors in there as well. If you're not sticking around to the whole video, you certainly can go down, click below, and you'll get that playbook with the colors. But come back. Don't leave the video. I want to make sure you watch this whole thing so that you can understand exactly what colors you need to paint your house. So I want to show you a couple of pictures that just are not going to show well online. And you're going to see these colors obviously are great probably for the owner. The rooms are very, very comfortable. It's made it cozy probably. But when somebody looks at these reds and they look at these colors, they're feeling like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to paint right when they move in. And they're thinking $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 to paint a house. And then they're automatically deducting that from the purchase price of your home. Now, again, you may love these colors and I am not a decorator. I'm talking to you about what sells well, what comes across well, what makes buyers feel like it's a great base. And these colors really are not it. I want to show you a couple of rooms that are very neutral and very basic. And you might say that they are boring, but that is the goal. I've actually done a lot of videos about this. In my HGTV video, you can definitely go and watch that. It talks about what buyers are really looking for. So I don't want to go too much into it, but the key is that they do want these neutral colors. And some of these pictures are going to show you more neutrals. So when you're picking out your colors, I want you to kind of lean towards this. And we're going to talk about some of the little specifics in just a minute. And I'm going to give you those colors that will definitely work for your home. So I want to talk to you about this picture here. Now, this room is obviously dated furniture. And if you've seen some of my videos, I talk about not having to redo everything. I just want to show this room because that is kind of a neutral color. Now, it is a little warm, which is fine, but I want to show you if you have a room like this, you do not necessarily have to paint the whole house because I know a lot of people maybe have a dated house and maybe your color sort of looks a little bit like this. You don't have to paint the whole house. If it leans a little warm like this, that's totally fine. The gray, the cold gray is a little out right now. Now, I've talked about gray before. I'm going to show you some examples of grayish, which is like a gray beige. It's a gray warm. This color is okay if you have your house that's sort of painted like this. Now, I want your pictures to be really good to kind of brighten it up a little bit, but many of you may not want to repaint your house if it kind of looks a little bit like this. Now, this is the gray color that a lot of people are thinking that you need to be painting your house. This gray is a little overdone. And many of you have told me that, which I know, and clearly it is overdone. This is the color that most builders will paint their houses. It's kind of called builder grade. And so this gray is just very cold. Now you can see that they painted this room gray and the floor is a little warm. So they might have been better off going with a grayish color or a little bit warmer gray, a little bit more neutral. And I know you're thinking, is gray really neutral? Gray is neutral, but this gray is not exactly what everybody's looking for right now because it has been a bit overdone. Now this kitchen I want to show you because you can see clearly that somebody told these sellers to paint their kitchen gray and to paint their house gray. But what I want you to see is that color does not actually match the warmth of those cabinets. And so it looks a little off. So a buyer is going to be like, oh, well, it is gray, but it kind of doesn't match those cabinets. There are ways of being neutral and being trendy and being gray-ish, but that matches. So if you have a house that's warmer, if your floors are warmer, if your cabinetry is warmer or your woodwork, I want to make sure you're not going with a hard, cold gray. Again, I'll show you those in a minute. And here's one more example of a house with warmer cabinets where they went just with a hard gray color that really doesn't work. So I want to show you this site that I found, and I love this because this is going to prevent you from making a lot of mistakes. There's this site, it's called Samplize, and you can go and order these large kind of peel and stick samples of paint colors. So you've got these paint color swatches, and what you do is you kind of peel it off like that, and then you can stick it to your wall and put it anywhere in your house, and then it can kind of come off. It's like, what are those? Those chloroform? What were those? What is that called? You know, when we were kids, the little things that you can put on the wall, the sticky things. I know, I'm gonna have to find them. Anyway, so you can take this and put it on the wall and then put it back. But what it allows you to do, it allows you to look at the lighting in the house, and it allows you to kind of look with your furniture furniture and with your cabinetry and your woodwork. So this is a really great way of testing out colors without painting, because one of the things I'm going to want you to do is actually test it. And this is going to be much more cost effective than going out, getting a thing of paint, stirring it up and painting it on the walls and then being like, oh, that was wrong. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to show you some of these colors that I think are really great. And from the site, you can order any of these samples. I do have a discount for this down below. You can find some of these at other stores. However, they're super expensive and these are going to be much more cost effective for you. So go ahead and click on that link, but let me show you the colors that I love on this site. You can go ahead and pick any color that you want and they will send you one single sample, which is great. But what I want to specifically show you are the bundles that they've put together and the colors that they're using. So you can see right here, these are the bundles. And I will tell you, like I said, I'm not a decorator. So these are not for decorating your house. I'm not talking to you about that. I'm talking to you about selling. And these are the colors that I have been recommending for quite a while. They've kind of actually grouped them into a segment to look at. What I want you to look at is both the warm whites and the off-white warm grays. It used to be the off-white cool grays and the light cool grays is what used to be a little bit better. People were leaning towards that. But like I said, those have become a little overdone. And so now we're looking at a little bit of the warmer grayish color. So if you go and look at the off-white warm gray colors that they have, all of these are fantastic. These are really, really good. And you're going to ask me if you should paint your whole house. I recommend if your house hasn't been painted in a while, it is a nice flavor to give it a nice coat around the whole house. You do not have to paint your whole house. If you're going to paint, I opt to painting the first floor and the master bedroom. You're going to paint the walls in probably one of these colors. Almost any of these are going to be good. I'm going to show you a couple others that are also good on this site. Now, remember that picture that I showed you that had kind of the warmish color? Again, these are kind of similar to that. I don't know if it's worth it for you to paint your whole house if your color is kind of that neutral. Okay, so I don't necessarily want you to spend money, but if you have a lot of different colors or you're looking to freshen it up, paint is a great way to go. And one of these colors would be fantastic. Now, if you really just want to go completely neutral, you could go with one of these warm white colors as well. The issue with this is it does kind of get pretty stark, which is fine, but nobody's going to be offended by these colors. When you're talking about trim, my favorite trim color is white dove. I love white dove on trim. I think it looks fantastic. So if you're doing white dove on your trim, you're going to want to do something that's a little bit different on your walls, but that is my recommended color for trim work. Now, this site does have like articles and things like that. And I did go in to kind of check what are the best neutral colors. Now this is for 2023. So we're beyond this. They need to update their site. But what I will tell you is when I did look at these, I noticed a lot of colors here that I've been recommending for years. And I've used these colors in my house as well. So three very popular colors are the Revere Pewter, Edgecombe Gray, and Stonington Gray. These are actually three colors that I've been recommending for quite a long time. I think they really work. If you want something a little bit more color, and remember, you've got to go with the warmth or the coolness of your house. These are very natural colors that go on. Now, these really do look different in different lights. So I highly recommend just ordering maybe one of these samples or going to the store and testing the paint before you paint your whole house. If you feel you are going to go with a light, cool gray color of some sort, you can pick the light, cool gray package that does have some nice colors in there that I think are kind of neutral. Again, you're looking at the coolness versus the warmth. And that's the main thing you need to choose. You really won't go wrong with any of these colors that I'm talking about for selling your home. Again, don't give me the hate. Don't give me the comments saying these are the bad colors. Buyers don't like these colors. This channel is for sellers and it's about how to get the most money when you go to sell your home. And I've worked with thousands of sellers, so I know what people are looking for. And any of these colors are probably going to be okay. But let's say you cannot make a decision. Let's say you're somebody who really cannot make a decision. How are you going to pick these colors? What do you want to do? All you need to do is call in a local agent. And the reason is because an agent knows your community really, really well. I certainly can have you reach out to me. You can send me an email and talk to me about, your rooms and your lighting and all this. But an agent who's in that market is actually going to be able to tell you whether or not you should paint or not. Because in a super, super hot market, you may not need to paint. And everything in my channel is about making you a profitable homeowner. And so if you're spending all this money on painting when you don't necessarily need to do it, you're throwing away thousands of dollars. So if you are looking for an agent, you can come to me. I have thousands of agents across the country who are my resources, really experienced agents who focus in your community. And if you need somebody, go ahead and click the link below. I will find somebody for you and make sure they are a great fit for you, no charge at all to you. Go ahead and click the link below. Now you want to know what type of paint to use when you're painting your walls. I will tell you, I always get confused by what kind of paint and which one is kind of the best, but I do really like eggshell for the walls. I think eggshell is it'll give a nice sheen, and it can be washed up real well. Now, if you're looking for something that's in a little more high traffic area, or it's going to be wiped down a lot, like maybe a kitchen or a bathroom, you're probably going to want to go with satin. And that's where you can actually just wipe it up. It's a little bit easier to use. So satin's probably a good fit. Now you're going to ask me, what should you use on the trim? And this is kind of personal preference. And I don't love the high gloss. It's not really my thing on the trim. I don't really think buyers like it. I think it's kind of a personal taste. You can go with semi-gloss, which is really a nice fit on the trims. It's a little more durable as well. And if you really wanted to, you could use satin, but I probably don't recommend it. I'd probably recommend putting some type of a gloss onto the trim so it can be easily wiped down. Now, if your home has scuffs and you are worried about getting them off, I'm going to make a recommendation for you. It is the Magic Eraser. These Magic Erasers are great for walls and trim work. You have to be very careful though. If somebody says, go get you a Magic Eraser and just wash down your walls with it, if you do not have the right type of paint, and I believe if you have like a flat or a matte, it's going to actually take the sheen off of the paint. So you want to make sure that you're testing it. But if your house just has some scuffs and you're feeling like you just want to kind of get it a little bit cleaner, the Magic Eraser does do wonders, but you want to make sure you test it first. So what are the mistakes that people are making when they're going to paint their house? Well, they choose the wrong color. They choose colors that appeal to them rather than looking at kind of the common denominator across all buyers across the spectrum. You have come here. I have told you, after talking with thousands of people, showing them homes, working with sellers, anything I've kind of shown you in here today is probably going to be a good fit. I don't want you to go out and then start getting creative and say, I think this wall would look great in an accent, unless you maybe are a decorator. But even then, I want you to be super careful about what colors that you are choosing, because remember, a buyer has to feel like their furniture can go into that room. They don't want to have to paint when they move into the house if they don't have to. I also want you to make sure you test your paint colors, whether it's through the link I've given you here. You can order these online, or going and getting your paint. I want you to take the time to get it mixed and to paint it up and to see how it looks in the room, because every paint color is going to look different with the lighting that you're in. And I don't want you to make a mistake by choosing the wrong tone for the woodwork or the other things that you have in the house. Remember, if your house is a little bit warmer, if things lean a little warm, then you need to pick some type of a color that leans a little warm. But if you're going for a little bit more of a modern look like that, you can go a little cool. Don't just go out there and paint gray. Like, that's just not what you should be doing, because most likely it's just not going to work. Also, I want to make sure you hire a professional. Do not do this yourself unless you've painted many, many times. Nothing turns off a buyer like shoddy paintwork. Lines that aren't straight. I mean, it is just so cringy for buyers when they walk in and they see the color that they like, but now they are like, oh, no, we got to repaint the whole house. This looks bad. So you definitely really do need to hire a professional. I'm going to recommend that. Do not leave here without downloading that seller's playbook. It's got so much information for you about those low cost, high return updates. In addition, it is going to give you that link to these samples, which you're going to get at a discounted rate. So I want to make sure you click on that link, download the playbook today, and do not forget to like and subscribe.